So money does not buy happiness. And we're seeing that. You can't think your way into enlightenment. You
So
can't,
true.
it's energy. The beauty you see in the world is only recognized by you because it exists within you too.
Mm.
You, in order to recognize something, you have to know it.
Meant to be enjoying the journey. We've all chosen to be here. Obviously, everyone's belief systems are different. But what's the point of being here if you're not going to enjoy the journey? We don't all need a grand purpose in life. We want to be focused on those micro areas in our life and appreciate them, because if you're so focused on the end point of some big dream, he says it really funnily that by the time you get there, you're just probably about to die anyway. Tim's point about this, and I love it because he equates happiness to an orgasm. Basically, if you obsess over it, it disappears, which I think is absolutely hysterical.
If we're having a hard time changing the way we think about something, like we know we have a bad limiting thought, we're frustrated, we can't get it to change, forget about changing the mind, change the body. Start working the body,
Absolutely.
and the mind will follow, and vice versa.
Welcome back, everyone, to our weekly coffee chats with my friend Brice from esoteric Atlanta across the big sea. Ocean, you know what I mean. Who knows? With geography, everything's up for grabs at the moment. And today, we are going to be talking about something. One of my good friends sent me this really good video. It's an old one. It's about 8 years old, by Tim Minchin, who did a live to learn motivational video, and it went viral. And it's his 9 life lessons from a comedian, and it's really good points and really makes you laugh. It's so funny. So I can't play the video here because I'll get a copyright strike. So I will put the link to the original video so you know what we're talking about below. But Brice and I today are going to go through the 9 points that he raised and just have a discussion because they're so relevant to what's going on now, aren't they, Brice?
Yeah, I'm actually, because I'm reading through, I couldn't watch the video that you sent me, so I was reading through your points, and I can't wait to go to YouTube to see it because I can imagine this is probably great to hear a comedian go through this.
I
So,
think so much of what we're seeing now in real life, that it's important to maintain the humour of it, because we can take life too seriously. And so this comes into some of the points that Tim raises. And life is serious and there's serious shit going on, pardon my French. But equally, we're meant to be enjoying the journey. We've all chosen to be here. Obviously, everyone's belief systems are different. But what's the point of being here if you're not going to enjoy the journey? If you go to watch a good movie at the cinema, and we all know how, how they're used to mind control us, but the whole point is the enjoyment as you go through, and the oohs and ahs and the immersiveness in the experience. And to me, that's really like life. What about you, Brice?
oh, it absolutely is. And that in the spiritual realm, the people that have a sense of humor are considered, or not spiritual realm, but spiritual on earth, like spiritual practitioners, the people that are considered to be the most enlightened are the ones that have the best sense of humor.
And wait till you get to one of the ones we're coming on when he talks about how opinions are like arseholes. And I promise you, you've got to stick around for that point, which is a few points down, because he puts a very different dimension on this. So, just before we start, I just want to take a little bit of an appreciation for something beautiful. This is my Flasker tea mug, and it's beautiful. You put the things in there. Let me put it on. Sorry, I'm trying to balance things, but it comes with a little lid. And I'm just saying this because there's beauty all around us, folks. We can concentrate on the awful stuff, but look how beautiful it's structured. It's got energy symbols in it, comes with a lid. You put your loose leaf tea in there, strains it, take it out and put it on there. There's a link on my website. I'm not doing it for that. I'm just saying that there's so much beauty all around us, and I just
All the
think we
time.
needed to remind us of that. I mean, I've got pumpkin on the desk. I've got my dogs there. I'm sure you've got Ravi there. Just
Ravi is
speak
actually
of
at
the
the Shala
beauty.
this morning.
Is he?
He
Oh, you've
goes
got
on Fridays and he goes on Wednesdays to the Shala, and it's his favorite thing in the world because he gets to see all his friends, all the students come in,
Oh, I
and
love
he
it.
loves
He's
it. So
got his
he's
day out. Well, I've
yeah.
got cats in here, dogs, my beautiful Flasker structured engraved cup, and I just I'm feeling the love today. So I'm really looking forward to this discussion. So the first one that Tim brings up is he talks about, and I just love all of these because I say, please listen to the link below to see how he expresses them. But he's saying you do not have to have a dream. And basically, what he's saying, look, if you've got a life passion, a life dream, go for it. But if you haven't, it doesn't matter. We don't all need a grand purpose in life. We want to be focused on those micro areas in our life and appreciate them. Because if you're so focused on the end point of some big dream, he says it really funnily that by the time you get there, you're just probably about to die anyway. But equally, you can miss the gold and the opportunities along the way. What does that bring up for you, Brice?
Actually, when I first read this, when you sent it to me, I got emotional a little bit because I remember, because I grew up in a very academically focused family. I went to private school. Like there, I grew up around people who were generations of doctors, lawyers, and I remember being in school, in high school, and looking at university and having this pressure of and some of my friends already knew that they wanted to be a doctor,
Mm.
they wanted to do this and they wanted to do that. And for a while I thought I had to consider like law school because I knew I was good at like English and history and philosophy. So I thought that I had to have some grand, well, I'll just go to law school. Now looking back, I would suck as a lawyer, you know? But I remember even at a very young age feeling that pressure of having to have like a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan,
Mm.
and I never could create one because I think a lot of people have that feeling that the straight and narrow path, which is great for some people. Thank God we have people who are willing to be lawyers and all that kind of stuff. It's just not meant for everybody's life purpose. And there's that joke, Catherine. What is it says? If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Yeah. Mm.
You know, I never
Love
thought I
that.
would end up in India
Mm.
in my going into my 30s, you know, and so I love this because that's kind of what I actually ended up myself doing was just focus unintentionally because I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, was just focusing on what's next? Where do I go
Mm.
next after this? And it's led me to India. It's led me to these places that I never would have even fit into my schedule if I had a long-term goal, if that makes sense. So I actually I think that's a really good, and nothing wrong with people who have that long-term goal.
Oh,
Nothing wrong with it at
completely.
all.
And he says that as well. You know, if you've got one, brilliant. But there can be quite a lot of shaming about,
Mhm.
how often do we say, find your purpose? And we've had those conversations, but your purpose could be just being a good neighbor. And when I say just, that's not belittling it. It's we sort of have this tendency to put hierarchies on dreams, on purposes, on jobs, on life. And it's so unnecessary. We do not need to do that. And a lot of the time, look what's happened over the last 5, 6 years. Look how many dreams that so-called shattered. Even my children, who are both in their early 20s, they've had to course correct loads of times because one opportunity got taken away from them with the scandemic. And so they found others and it's gone in a different direction. But if you're so focused on just achieving that goal, unless it's absolutely a passion project for you, how many opportunities might you be missing along the way?
I love you so much. There's one thing too you got with that and maybe your daughter has had this experience too. I know many people who focus like hardcore on like tennis
Yeah.
or something to get to a certain level, and looking back now that they're in their 30s and 40s, like what did I miss? What like
Mm.
opportunities did I miss? Because like even with my form of yoga that I get up so early in the morning to practice, I always say, like, I'm glad I didn't start this particular form of yoga until later because I needed my early 20s to go out and party and to
Yeah.
get on Sunset Bowl. You know, that's these are valuable times in our lives that we don't need to, you know, Ram Dass used to say those are part of the practice too. Like we need these experiences to have a full life. And so I think for some people, they might even say something like that. Well, I focused so much on being a doctor and being a top surgeon. By the time I got there, I realized I had missed so much out on so much that I regret missing out on. And so, you know, there's a catch-20 with both, but it's literally, I like how he says it's literally about enjoying every moment of your life,
Yeah.
right?
Whether you're shoveling snow like Peter in Canada or just about to have an operation because you injured it dog walking like Frank. And, I know so many people, like, my friend Frank in America, who I met through doing the ASEA, and he's just been made redundant after like 30 plus years in one county. But since he's been made redundant, he's launched his consultancy business because what Frank hasn't learned about helping middle-aged men with their health isn't worth knowing. And
Yeah.
he's also written a book. And those were never on his plans initially. And now some time has freed up. And suddenly all these amazing opportunities are opening up. And I think with everything that our audience and ourselves, we can get so down the rabbit holes researching what's going on and second guessing, are we going to go to WAR? What on earth is Mr. Man Orange going to do next? Or Mr. Muppet over in the UK, that we forget to just make today your dream. Like today, as I said, I can get so much pleasure just from looking at my basket teacup and my lovely organic green tea in here. And it's those little things that bring such, oh,
See, I love you said that because Lou, that
I
we've
can
been talking
smell
to,
those from here.
I've now been making it a point to make sure I have fresh flowers on my desk because Lou made that point. Like we're as human, this thing we've been channeling, like as human beings, we're so quick to try to get out of Earth.
Yeah,
All these other spiritual want to come to Earth because even though it's hard, we have beautiful flowers. We
yeah,
get the love of animals. There's so much. Our Earth is gorgeous. Like there's so much to appreciate about our time here. Not don't waste it, you
yeah.
know, enjoy it. And so I always make sure now that I have fresh
Oh, it's
flowers.
just beautiful. That's why I have all my plants behind me because you can't really see them a bit blurred. But I've got so many different plants everywhere, and I'm obsessed with them. And I talk to them all the time, and they're actually the only people that talk to me these days. So I'm quite happy with that. So that leads on very nicely to the second talking point, which is don't seek happiness. And Tim's point about this, and I love it because he equates happiness to an orgasm. Basically, if you obsess over it, it disappears. Which I think is absolutely hysterical. You can let us know in the comments if it's disappeared your orgasm when you've obsessed over it. Keep the comments YouTube friendly because I don't want that particular strain of comments to actually get my channel taken down again. So use code words. But honestly, what he was saying about that is when you pursue happiness, it's a bit like when people say, do what you love and the money will flow. I'm still working on that one, but in all seriousness, when you chase happiness rather than doing the right thing, when you make someone feel a bit better, when you appreciate everything in your day, the happiness comes as a byproduct. Was when you make the happiness the absolutely focus of everything, it just makes it so difficult to achieve.
Yeah, I absolutely. I've been focusing more too on joy because I think joy is different from happiness.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you're saying that too, because we've, this whole thing with like Brooklyn Beckham and the Beckhams and all, it's
Mm.
hysterical to watch. And there's hysterical TikToks of British girls going, Brooklyn, go to bed. Like go to like,
Yeah.
you know, but I listen to I like listening to people who look at psychology of what's
Mm.
going on and to what you're saying. I think for us, I can look back at my life, even in times where I wasn't happy, and see where I created, where
Yeah.
there was something to be proud of. You've had your YouTube channel. I've had Esoteric Atlanta, our business successes, our relationship successes, rescuing dogs. We've done these things, and I'm bringing the Beckhams up as an example because you look at someone like Brooklyn Beckham or their kids, and they're born into an obscene amount of wealth, right? An obscene amount of wealth. And you would think,
And
oh,
an
they must be
obscene amount of dysfunction.
exactly. But because that comes with it. And
Mm.
the psychiatrist was saying, I think we think that these kids born with this, they can have anything they want. They don't have to work, right? They could not even go to school. They've got enough money for generations, yeah. But the depression that comes, the toxicity that comes because when their parents are so powerful to not be able to live up to that, to not
Mm.
feel like you can create something for yourself, to not feel like, and they even talked about with Brooklyn, and of course, who knows, we're looking from the outside in, that all of his careers that he's had, his photography, his chef, that his parents have kind of bought it for him. He hasn't gone through
Mm.
the ringer that we all go through of starting as a beginner, going through education, mentorship, then having to prove ourselves with the craft because his parents could just buy it for him, and how empty of a feeling that would be for a person. So money does not buy happiness, and we're seeing that. And so I love that he says that don't look for happiness. I think we look for like a sense of creation, a sense of being able to put something out into the world, even in time. Because honestly, like I look back, like we talked about 2020, if 2020 had not happened, if that had they had not
Mm.
locked us down, I would not be sitting here with you guys right now. I never thought that I would. I was
Nor
toying
me. I
with
mean,
that.
that was never on any life plan of mine in any shape or form. Yeah.
Right. And for us peasants, like when that happened, we had to find some. I'm used to working. So I
Mm.
wanted to find something to do. And that's what really started Esoteric Atlanta. And so, but with someone like Brooklyn Beckham, who's never had that foot on his neck to pay a bill, there's been less incentive. And so I
Yeah.
think, and I hope that makes sense. So look back at your lifetimes, maybe you were stressed or freaked out or not happy, but you can look back and see what you produced and how now that makes you happy. There is a payoff because you did it anyway. You went out there and you produced and created anyway, if that makes sense.
Yeah, completely. And I think all of us could really do with pondering a little bit of what actually makes you feel good long term, not just this instant gratification, because we are absolutely in a society, all of us watching this, of instant gratifications, and we know those are definitely led by the devil, not by anyone in your best interest. So it's a really important one. This next one, they all make me laugh, Bryce, but this really makes me laugh. Remember, it's all luck. Now, I've heard, I think it was Ricky Gervais doing a really funny video, or it might have been actually John Cleese, actually, about the chances. There's so many sperm
Mhm.
produced. The chances of that one sperm. I see it's a bit sexual, this show today. Sorry, everyone. I'm talking about orgasms and sperm, but I hope my mother's not watching. The
Your
chances of
children were
that
brought by the
particular,
stork, Catherine. They
yeah,
were brought by the stork. They just showed up one day at your house. You're still a
exactly.
virgin.
Little stalk bought us. So the sperm, there's millions of sperm penetrating that egg to make you, and then the fact that that was viable and that you got here. So first and foremost, your luck anyway, but also the fact that, most people didn't, okay, you can get into metaphysically, did we choose our starting points? Let's not go there for that. But making sure that you understand that be grateful for everything. Remember that if you've been fortunate enough to have a raise up and a foot up, don't then be cruel to people that are in very different circumstances. And it makes you, being humble makes you more compassionate and make it and softens you to other people's circumstances, because it's so important, because we can't see things from other people's perspectives often. We might think we can, but if you haven't been in that situation, it can be really unfair to judge.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard that thing too about the fact that you're actually here is such a miracle. The statistics of, and I think we forget, Catherine. Like I've never had a child, and my sister's had four. I mean, that's what she gets for
Mm.
marrying an Italian Catholic, is they just keep getting pregnant. But I think, we look back, and who knows? We know that part of our history is probably a tall tale. But I do say, I've said this before. I think one of the blessings we have in 2026, if we're looking at modern medicine, which a lot of it I don't like, but I think OBGYN, like, we don't have women dying giving childbirth like they used to, right?
Yeah.
And I think we forget because now a woman gets pregnant and 99.9% of the time it's good news because there's
Mm.
modern medicine to support any problems that might arise, cesarean sections, whatever might have to happen in order to have a healthy mother and a healthy baby. And I think we forget how difficult it was historically to produce and how scary it would have been,
Absolutely. And a
you
lot of
know?
people did die in childbirth, and that might have
Yeah.
been more in the developed world, possibly because of they were made to lie on beds to give birth, which is never a
Yeah.
good idea. But you are so right. There's so many. I mean, when my mum and dad grew up in London, they were both born in the Second World War in London, and there were no vets. There were no animal vets in London at that time. So when there was something wrong with your animal, you couldn't take it to a vet. So at the moment, yes, there's a lot wrong with veterinary medicine with the big corporate takeovers and farmer led. But actually, at least if your animal gets run over or breaks a leg or something, most of us can get to an emergency vet to
Yeah.
help them and take their pain away and even put them out of their misery at the end of their lives, which is a terribly difficult decision, but can be a really gift. So there's so much that we might moan about now that actually we're so lucky to
So
have the
lucky.
option.
We're so lucky. And I think about all the women too. I know I have tons of friends that have laughed and said during their labor, if it had been 200 years earlier, they would have died because
Well,
something
that's
happened.
me. My son was not coming out. I had to have an emergency cesarean. I had the easiest pregnancy ever, and I had an emergency cesarean. And I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity. Now, I wouldn't elect to have one, but am I
But
grateful my son and I are alive and he's not brain
what's true?
damaged or worse? Absolutely.
I mean, Catherine, I'm Rh negative. My
Yeah.
sister's Rh negative. If I now Todd is also Rh negative, so it wouldn't have been a problem. But the likelihood most because it's only 15% of the population. So when I was a little girl, I was told like childbirth might be difficult for me
Mm.
because my part like my brother-in-law is Rh positive. Well, now it's not because guess what? They can give the woman, the mother who's Rh negative, they can give her shots to help her body carry an Rh. My sister, three of her children are Rh positive. She had help to be able to give birth to healthy babies. Because otherwise, what's common with Rh negatives, if they carry an Rh positive with the blood doesn't match. And so the body tries to get rid of the baby. That's
Yeah.
heartbreaking for a woman to have to go through that over and over and over
Yeah.
again because their body can't host but for my sister, she had medicine. She had that is what kept two of my nephews and one of my nieces alive
Yeah.
was modern medicine. And my
Yeah.
sister alive to be able to give birth to her children that she loves with all her heart, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're lucky. We're so
And
lucky.
we
I mean,
did. Sorry, come on.
oh, when we lost power in
Yeah.
Atlanta on Sunday, I said to my boyfriend, I was like, "This is not our timeline."
Yeah.
I was like, our ancestors collectively around the world worked really hard for us to have indoor heating. I was
Yeah,
like, "This is
that's
not
what
our
I
timeline."
do. I mean, every single time I use my washing machine, I'm like, thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Whoever invented washing machines. So, because when I was out in Africa, I did have to wash in the river literally, and it's really hard work. So count your blessings and also be compassionate to people that don't have the same ride through life that we do. And if people, most of the people that I admire now um, have had really rocky stages in their life,
Yeah,
really rocky
absolutely.
stages. And when I see, it's like everything in life, you can use those challenging times to make you stronger. Or they can destroy you. And the
Yeah.
people that go through the drug addictions, the alcohol addictions, time in prison, illnesses, you name it, terrible family upbringings, if they get through that, they can be some of the most amazing, compassionate people on this planet.
Yeah, absolutely. There's an Ashtanga teacher I love. I won't dox him, but I met him my first trip in India. He was already teaching. He learned Ashtanga yoga in prison.
Yeah,
And it's what got him through he was a drug addict, and that's what got him through his sentence. And he ended up in India, and
mm,
he's a fantastic teacher because he understands the human condition and he understands what suffering. Anybody who's got any type of addiction like that, they're suffering, they're hurting, and so
absolutely.
he understands that. And so that compassion, like, believe me, he's covered in tattoos, looks like a
Yeah,
thug, but his heart is so big, and he's such a phenomenal teacher because he cares.
yeah.
And that's why, and he found when he was at rock bottom, that's where he found the practice. And so that's what he's delivering to his students. So you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and some of the biggest advocates we've got, whether you're talking about SRA or children dying from jibby jabbies and things like this, unfortunately, the way our world works is often the people who've gone through those horrendous experiences and say lost a child are the ones that are saving all the rest of our children by
Yeah,
actually
absolutely.
sharing. And we'll come on to that. But I'm going to let you lead on this one because this is your absolute jam. Exercise, take care of your body. And he says it so funny, intellectual types who think they're too smart for movements, you can't build a strong life on a body that you neglect. take it away. This is your jam.
Oh my God, one of my favorite sayings I've heard is you can't think your way into enlightenment.
So
You can't,
true.
it's energy, your brain. And actually, Tamara was actually talking about this morning, that the left and right hemisphere of the brain has to be that you have to get that blood flowing, right? Have we talked about trepanning, um, Catherine, where you put the hole in the skull?
We did when we
Yeah.
did with Jamie.
Yeah. And then, well,
Yeah,
that I think about that a lot because yeah, like the whole saying, I need like a hole in the head. Like that's where it
yeah,
comes from. They used to do that to allow blood flow to get to the brain. And actually, in America, they're trying to pass it to help with like migraines. But just if you think about that and how much our body just fully depends on the functioning of blood. And we know that, the heart and the lungs, the oxygen, the blood work together. And so if your body, the way it is described in the yogic philosophy, 5,000 year, is it that the body is the mind field.
mm,
So every thought we have translates into our body, whether that's good or bad. Trauma can be excitement as well, right? It can
absolutely.
be something. And so when we're able to strengthen the body, we strengthen the mind. And here's the thing, too, because the mind and the body are connected, we know the gut and the mind are connected. If we're having a hard time changing the way we think about something, like we know we have a bad limiting thought, we're frustrated, we can't get it to change. Forget about changing the mind, change the body. Start working the body
Absolutely.
and the mind will follow and vice versa. And so it's so important. Your body is the one place in this existence that you can't leave. This is your home. This is your home. And even if you want to get spooky wooky and weird and woo woo, we're vegetarians, so I always have to clarify this because I don't even remember what a steak tastes like. But from what I understand, in the steak eaters can let us know when you go to a steakhouse, you want a fat cow, right?
Yeah.
You don't want a fit, lean cow. What does that say about the entities that feed off of us?
Mm.
If you want to be strong spiritually, you got to be strong physically.
It's so true. And we see this in animals a lot. I mean, I've been
Yes.
helping a lot of people and a lot of animals over the last year to detox their bodies safely because trust me, modern toxins need modern solutions. There's some great old-fashioned ones as well, but we need different solutions to deal with the modern man-made toxins they're putting into us. And it doesn't matter how good your detox is, how good a product is, the food you're eating, if you're not moving. And we see
Right.
problems a lot, say with horses that spend a lot of time stabled. It's so challenging, and dogs that aren't walked and allowed to play. So, really think about everyone who's watching this. You don't need to be extreme with this. We do not all need to be Olympic gymnasts.
No.
It can be walking, it can be stretching, it can be rebounding, it can be gentle yoga. We can't all do what Vice can do,
It
but
could literally be putting music, your favorite CD on your. Am I
just
aging myself
dance.
saying CD? Did I just age myself,
Yeah.
Catherine?
Well,
Get
that's
me
better than me. I'd have been saying tape.
your
Yeah.
cassette tape out
Yeah.
and just play whatever music you want and dance around your house. It
Mm.
brings joy, it brings sweat, and I agree with you 100%. The strong body helps the detox process even more because the
Yeah.
the muscles are and the organs are fine-tuned. Absolutely.
Now, this next one was my absolute favorite, and I was going to start with this, but I thought, no, we'll honor him and do it in order. And this is be hard on your opinions. Now, what Tim says here, I'm going to read this because it was absolutely amazing. Your opinions are not your identity. They should be challenged, questions, and refined. But the way he did it was absolutely wondrous. We've all heard, and Brice and I have said loads of times, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone has one. But he says there's an important distinction and a bit of wisdom in that your opinions should be constantly and thoroughly examined.
Hmm.
And you
I
might not
agree.
want to be doing that with your asshole.
No.
I thought that was the best bit of the whole thing.
They,
He says it's so funny. So we don't want to be expecting our arseholes got shit. But in all seriousness, and we do need to expect our opinions and we need to challenge them. Because if you don't challenge your opinions, if you don't challenge your belief systems, they're not your own.
And that's the hardest thing to do. It's so easy to tell other people to do that. And I have to commend us, Catherine. I think you and I have been very vulnerable in saying, people come at me all the time, like, because I'll bring people on who don't know, will say something that I don't
Yeah.
necessarily agree with, and they know I don't, and I won't say anything. And they're like, how come this is confusing. You brought someone on that has a different opinion. I'm like, because fuck knows if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I'm right. what I believe today might change tomorrow, like that's kind of the point of, don't believe everything you think, you know, and
Completely.
and I feel like though, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. I can't remember my past lives, but I feel like in our timeline now, this is a really hard concept for people to get. I feel like before people understood opinions change and opinions come and go, and they still liked a person anyway. I
Yeah.
feel like recently, and of course, Sergey Manas said that was going to happen, but it's so important. It's so important to examine your opinions. And it's hard. The ones that you really hold on to, it's hard to be like, I might
It's
be wrong
really
about this,
really
you
hard.
know?
I mean, I've said, we'll all have certain people, for example, like I find it really hard to hear something negative about RFK because for years I've used Children's Health Defence and it's helped my children and me and to so many different. So you have your biases, and this is where you need to be challenged. I mean, I must just tell you a story. So I put a post up on Instagram and Facebook, and who cares what posts I put up, but stick with me on this. It is important. And I have done so much research over the last 25 years since I had my son on vaccines. And I have researched and researched and researched this, and I have still got loads more to research because there's actually not a lot of research on animal vaccines.
Yeah.
And I put a post up saying to people, look, from what I've learned from the 20 plus years working with animals, you've got to question vaccines. I have personally now, with all my research, not found a single one where the risk of the vaccine outweighs, where the benefits of the vaccine outweigh
Yeah.
the risk. But I'm not inflicting that opinion on anyone. I'm just saying from my research, which could change tomorrow if someone sends me some different data. And oh my goodness, the insults I got. Now, a lot of people who've got opinion, prepared, said, yes, I found out the hard way, etc. And then there were a couple of people, one guy in particular, and he was so insulting. It was hysterical to watch. It's like, and then there were vet nurses jumping in saying, how can you say this? These vaccines that save lives. And if there were side effects, I'd see them. And you're like, hello, you are. It's so sad that you're a vet nurse and you're not prepared to even consider if there could be some truth in this. And then one guy said to me, I bet you're a flat earther so, as well. And he was just throwing all these insults at me. But I laugh and I jest. But the point is every single one of us watching this will have our no-go areas that trigger us like this. There was also comments where, people put a comment, which we love every single comment, but it doesn't mean we have to agree with them. And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean you have to agree with us. And not every time we ask a question back or every time we say we'll agree to disagree, does that mean we're being triggered either? It's like, no, we can agree. Thank you. I've listened to it. I still don't agree. And I think we've got to be so much less sensitive, everyone, because it's so easy to split us when we will not question our beliefs and we will not question our opinions.
The funny thing is, you're talking, my dad's a veterinarian, and I know that I'll be careful how I say this because of your channel, but what this thing for us,
Mm,
for the fancy flu,
mm,
um, my grandmother before she passed away had gotten it, and like the next day, like she couldn't walk, and my dad immediately was like, oh my God, it was
mm,
immediately. So he went and he researched every single thing in this. He called my sister. And he said, you tell Brice, neither one of you are to step near that. That's a death.
mm,
Basically after he did the research, and he's a veterinarian.
mm,
And even the veterinarian that I work with in India that helps us get the dogs out, because
mm.
we have to give them some of
Yeah.
the, in order to get them out, we have to. That's just what we have to do. We
Same
have to
here
do
with
that.
my Romanians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But that vet in India, I won't give his name, but I love him so much because he'll smudge the paperwork sometimes
Mm,
just to get the dog out and into a good family. And so not all vets are like, what this vet tech nurse probably needs to like really do her research with, like not all doctors are going to
no.
compromise,
And I
you
think
know?
also, like when people look at things like this, look, not every person as they get older gets wiser, but we do
Right.
experience a lot of things that we can choose to learn from or not. And the sad reality is find me one anti-vaxxer. And people say I'm not an I I wouldn't call myself an anti-vaxxer. Would I ever by choice give any animal or human at the moment with my today's level of knowledge, which I'm perfectly open to changing tomorrow, give a single one of my animals or my children one again? Never. I mean, my children, they're adults now. They make their own decisions. But the whole point is that there's no one that becomes the stupid label of anti-vax that hasn't had a vaccine and injured child, relative,
100%.
or animal. I have yet to meet one. And when these poor people are saying, please don't go through the hell that we have gone through, because if someone had told me this. So when Andrew Wakefield, when my children were young, came out, and I'm not making this all about vaccines, but it's just sometimes we've got to stop shooting the messenger. And I'm just going to lead on to the next one because this is important. His next point is be a teacher. And he's so passionate the way he talks about this. He said, if you're a teacher, teach by example, teach by how you handle stress, how you feel people, and share what you learn. And education in any sense of the word is a privilege. Share it. And then for those of you that people are sharing stuff with, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. You do not
Right.
have to agree with it, but it's a privilege. If someone like Andrew Wakefield has put his whole career and life on the line to share this information, which now 20 years, 25 years down the line has been proven to be completely true, and he was right from the start. They lied and lied and lied. Be thankful that people are sharing this. You don't have to agree with it, but be thankful that there's these brave people out there that are sharing new information with us. And all we see on social media now is this no, 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 vehemently shutting it down. And that's why we're in this shit show. So I want to really quickly share something that's so important to me. I love hosting this podcast because it allows us all to explore those big questions, challenge our programming, and uncover the natural truths that truly empower us. But did you know my real passion's working one-on-one with animals and people, helping you or your animal cut through the noise, find the root cause of imbalances, stress, illnesses, or really just create a personalized plan that actually works for you. So whether you're here for your own healing or you're a dedicated animal guardian, wanting the very best for your dog, cat, horse, any four-legged or scaled or winged companion, I'm here for you both. I work with animals and humans, but I especially love helping the animals thrive. That is my real happy place. So my recharge and reset consultations and online courses are packed with practical tools, printable resources, lifelong access. And the main thing is you'll never feel alone on this journey. And they work. Just head over to my website and check out the testimonials. So if you're really ready to take action and not just listen, head over to catherineedwards.life, that's Catherine with the C and .life at the end, and explore my courses and consults. Or if you want to, book a free 15-minute chat to see if I can help. Because it's really important we stop outsourcing our health, really look after our animal companions better than before, and start leading by example. Now back to the podcast. Thank you.
Absolutely. What's the famous quote? The truth is belligerent. There's
Mm,
also a quote, there's things people have nothing to hide, hide nothing. The truth doesn't need, the truth can be scrutinized, a lie cannot. So what's the problem with people just sharing their opinions? If it's not good, if it's scrutinized, then it will be tossed out by most
yeah,
people. But if it's the truth, it can stand up to scrutiny. And I go back to that thing too, especially with medical stuff. It's like if you believe that your medical plan is good, then you shouldn't be concerned about what I'm doing.
completely.
You know, even with and I'll just say this once, like the whole rabies. I know we have
Mm,
that here that's very serious. Like in India too, for humans, sometimes I have to be on the lookout for that, rescuing dogs to get, I definitely will have to get something if that were to happen. It hasn't happened though, but that is something we worry about here because if we let our dog loose in the mountains, that could happen. So we've been researching it, and he had to get one of those in order to come to the United States. So he has had one. Um, did you guys know? And I know because England doesn't have rabies, right? That's
yeah,
not in
but if we bring dogs or animals into the country, they have to have a
to have
shot.
that. Yeah. So in America though, they do it for your dogs like every few years, they get
Mm,
another one. Do you guys know? Because we've been researching this, because Todd really worries about that with Robbie. One is good for their whole life.
Well, also, it's really interesting to look at the origin of rabies.
Yeah,
We haven't got time to go into it now. If you look at the origin of parvovirus and rabies, you will be absolutely horrified. And given that the fact that the pandemic can supposedly spread around the world in no time at all, how come the UK and other countries don't have rabies still? Yes, we have to quarantine the animals, but if it's a virus, it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be in all
right.
sorts of what we have lots of bats here.
Right.
And we have lots of migrating birds. We have lots of migrating fish, and all. I know fish don't get rabies, but all I'm saying is like it's never as simple as what we're told. It's
No.
never as simple. And in America, they're spraying the so-called rabies vaccines in all your skies. Hello,
Yeah,
good luck to that. Good
I
luck.
know.
Look at what's in it.
It's
It
terrible. It's in the fact, well, and on top of that, the fact that they want the dog to have one every few years. I mean, come on.
horrific.
Come on.
My dad
Yeah.
was on a train once when my dad was still alive. He told me this story and it was so funny because it's so my dad. And he was sitting on a busy train going up to London and he was really lucky. He was quite old at this stage and he was lucky enough he got a seat. So he sat down and he put his coffee on the table. And then he turned around to get something out of his briefcase and the train rumbled and the coffee spilled all over him, all over his suit, boiling hot coffee. And the woman next to him turned to him and said, I could see it was going to do that. And my dad said, well, I wish you'd told me then, you
A
know.
grab.
And
Yeah.
that is the point, you know.
Yeah.
If you know something, how does it not tell someone, a grown adult, to tell them, and then that adult has the choice to listen or not? That's your thing. So every single one of you here are a teacher. They're not just talking about teachers in school or in studios and things. Each of us are a teacher. We've all got something we can share, but we're not responsible for someone taking that advice. But please share it because this is how we change the world. Every single person has got so many skills to share. You know, I can't think. I mean, I'm just literally thinking of my immediate neighbours here, and between them all, I'm one of the youngest in our local borough. It's really in the middle of nowhere. It's just lovely, real country folk. The skills in just 10 little houses we've got here, the skill set that we've got in that is absolutely phenomenal. And they're all different, you know. So please share, please teach.
Absolutely.
I love it. This one's beautiful. Define yourself by what you love. And basically, he brought out such a great point, and I think we see this so, so much somehow in society we've if someone sort of says what do you love about theatre, a lot of people go straight to be, oh, everyone's corrupt now, it's all MK Ultra, they're
Yeah.
all Illuminati, they're all this, all that. So that's just one extreme example, but so much we have been programmed by the algorithms, by social media, by what gets shared, by what we're exposed to, which all goes into our subconscious mind. When someone says what do you love, to immediately go in all the things that we don't want and we don't love, was actually being pro stuff and sort of saying, I love the fact that you've got roses on your table. Just by you showing me those roses shifted my energy. I'm sure just by you showing me my beautiful structured water cup, you know, that like if we can be more pro stuff and less anti stuff, what would change in your life?
Was it a Einstein quote? And I know people are gonna poo-poo Einstein. If you poo-poo Einstein after me saying this, then you missed the point of what Catherine just said, where he said you can either treat life as a miracle or not a miracle. Like there's just I'm
Yeah.
paraphrasing, like it's your choice how you choose to see life. And I love that. There is a like shadow work drill that you can do. You know, we always talk about like the darkness, right? Like the things that annoy you about somebody else is really an aspect of you. We really hone in on that, but there's another side to that.
Hmm.
The beauty you see in the world is only recognized by you because it exists within you too. You in order to recognize something, you have to know it. So the things that you love about, the things I love about Catherine, that's a part of me as well. The things you love about your children, like besides the parental thing, like it's mirroring something inside of you as well. And I love that focusing on that magic. I love musical theater because I think if you go see Go see Wicked. Go see oh my God, Newsies. Like the awe-inspiring of what these human beings can
Yeah.
actually do with their bodies, especially with like Newsies, because they're not only dancing, they're doing gymnastics and
Mm.
singing at the same time. Like the fact that they can I teach an hour bar class where my cardiovascular is up and I'm having a hard time continuing to speak to the students. The fact that these people can be on stage for 4 hours straight and do that is
Yeah.
impressive. And that is beautiful that the human body is able to do that. So that the capabilities that we actually have, beautiful art that people I love. Like Todd's an artist, and I can't draw to save my life, but to be able to watch him when he works and to draw and to recreate just with a pencil, that's just so incredible. Or flowers, or or to see the way that I think it's an art form, the way you work with animals, to be able to
Mm.
watch that flow. I think that's so important. And that does drive me crazy, Catherine, when people just focus so, like we were talking about the traders and someone when it's like you can't respect the fact that this is a fun show.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's Clue. It's Cluedo. It's a murder mystery, live action murder. Like it's fun. And the contestants are, and I think that's again like it's contagious, right? Because like the
Oh, I
celebrity,
mean, look at someone laughing, and I mean,
yes.
it's so contagious and it can shift the energy that then, we've all heard of the butterfly effect. And if we go back into that joyous state, then that is going to have an impact on so many people and beings that we are never going to be aware of. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I told you I love the celebrity UK traders because you could tell they really enjoyed each other's company and
Yeah,
they really were having fun playing the game. And
yeah.
they were having fun playing the game. I had fun watching them play the game, and so that's so joyous to be able to experience that, to watch children on the playground giggle with each other
I
is just,
know. It's
it's
just so beautiful. It is so beautiful. And that leads on to respect people with less power than you. And he talks about how he really judges how people treat the waiters and the waitresses in the restaurant. And we've all seen that. Like you can tell so much about people
yeah.
by how they treat. Now, I spent last week with Jesse Beltrain and Matt Hazen and Caroline Mansfield looking at all the nano in people and the team who made the film Dying Suddenly. And I'll talk more about that probably with Brice in an upcoming episode because it was phenomenal and it did not push me into a fear state. But the point of that is these people, the Americans that were over, and they had been working non-stop. I mean, they'd had no sleep non-stop. And I just sat back and I watched how they interacted with the waiters and waitresses. It was just beautiful to see, and not superficial either. That they got one of them an interview somewhere else, and they got someone else some other amazing opportunities. It was genuine human interest, and to watch how people respond to this, and how often do we every single this is the royal we looking at that this what do we do when no one's watching? How do we treat people that are having a bad time? How do we treat animals that are having a bad time? And do we voice and speak to that, speak up for that? Because you say all the time, oh, by the grace of God.
Mhm.
And our situations can change like this. I mean, look,
Heartbeat.
I know so many families that have lost someone, personally lost someone suddenly after the jibby jabby. Your world can be turned upside down in no time. Bring joy to people that are around you. There should be no judgment. So where he's saying less power than you, he doesn't say it in a judgmental way at all. That he's not talking in a hierarchical sense. He's just saying, how you treat someone is how you treat everyone. How you do one thing is how you do everything.
It's so funny. I will say my parents did a really good job with that with us.
Mm.
We had to say in the South, if I had a housekeeper growing up and we had to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Like we had to treat her with the utmost respect, even though she was cleaning our house. And my mother would tell us to go speak to her. Like we would come in from school, go say, hey, hello to Miss, go look her in the eye and tell her hello. Like be very, and so I'm very aware of that now. It's one thing my parents were really, when we would go to my dad's vet office, when we were kids, we were told we would go in the back door and we were instructed when we walked it. A lot of times my mother didn't want us going in there. Understandably, their dogs coming out of anesthesia, their needles everywhere. There's emergency situations coming in, sick animals, that can react. But my mother would tell us when we would have to go inside, go immediately to your father's office. Do not stop and pet the dogs. And it was more about respecting my father's employees,
Mm.
that the vet techs were, and that we wouldn't be in the way as the children, and that we would just get out of their way and respect the job that they're doing. And my dad's had the same employees for 20, 30 years, that shows that level of respect. And I was at there's a great cafe like right up the street from us, and they have a really great, it's kind of an expensive cafe, but they have really good bakeries. So sometimes when I just need a little piece of cake,
Mm.
I'll go up there. And I was sitting at the bar area, and it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And there was like one guy working behind the bar where you order for the cake. And it's a very not fancy place. And I was sitting there and I was sitting there and I was sitting there, and Todd was outside with a dog. He kept texting me, what's taking so long? And I was like, I just haven't, and I was getting kind of frustrated. But I took a moment to watch this one guy behind the counter and realize like how understaffed they were
Mm.
and how busy he was and how stressed he looked. And I kind of talked myself off the ledge, like bless this guy's heart, like he's busting his ass, he has no help. And he got to me and he was like, I'm so sorry it took so long. And I just said to him, I was like, you are so busy, it's no big deal, it's fine, I just want something to go. And after we finished the transaction, he actually looked at me, he goes, thank you so much for being so understanding. And here's the thing, that's a restaurant that attracts very wealthy people.
Mm.
I'm not saying that all wealthy people are assholes, but there's a certain attitude.
Mm.
And just that one recognition taught me a lot. Like I need to do that in all situations and just be aware of what's actually going on around me. And it's not just about me. Like and
Oh,
especially
it's
people
so
in
important.
service-based positions, you
And put
know?
yourself in different positions as well, because I always remember when I was saving up to go off traveling. So when I was working, I used to work in a bar in the evenings at university and holidays and things like that, and had a job during the day as well. And it was so interesting to see the difference in the way people spoke to me when I was a barmaid to when I was in my other job. And I was like, okay, that's really fascinating. And I just think respecting everyone with the same and realizing I did a speed awareness course once when I got caught speeding. So you have to go on this course with the policeman and do it. And he said, oh, yeah, it's really great. I mean, sometimes, and it was a really, really good course. And the policeman who was teaching it, he said, look, I'm a policeman. I've been a policeman for 35 years. And you don't know when someone's cut you up, all this road rage and everything. They might be going to see a dying relative,
Yeah.
cut them some grace. It's not, there's a difference between, of course, it doesn't mean it's good and it's safe to do that. But he said the other day his son and his son's wife had a baby and it was horribly premature and it was a life and death situation and they didn't know and they had to drive from where they were in London up to Wales, which was like about a 4 hour drive. And he said, I'm a policeman and I was speeding and I probably wasn't as conscious. Now, I'm not excusing that behavior, but you do not know what other people are going through. So give them some grace
Mhm.
and try and shift the energy around you all by treating everyone, every being, every animal, every being, every plant with the respect. And that
Yeah.
moves on to the last one, which is don't rush, Brice. And I think it was really funny because he sort of says there's no point rushing because you'll be dead soon enough anyway. And I
That's kind
thought
of
that
what
was
they say.
amazing. But, live, travel, stop rushing to achieve, stop rushing to get that title, stop rushing to earn that salary. Enjoy and experience the journey. I mean, what are some of your top tips for that?
The funny thing is even though I say this is not where 2026 is our timeline, like our ancestors worked really hard to give us electricity and vast information. Sometimes I am envious of later or past generations where there was an eloquence to like letter writing, and there was a slowness and appreciation, for being in that moment. I mean, how many of us have found our grandparents' love letters? And now it's just people sending emojis with eggplants, right? Like
Mm.
there is a beauty to life that we can experience if we slow down, if we actually take a moment to like be in the moment. That we say spirituality is here now, it's not there then. It's being in that moment of what's happening. And I think that I think India's still pretty overall still pretty good at this because they kind of have their own culture around, I learned my first trip when I needed a new water bottle. I called the water boy and he was like, 5 minutes, madam. And it was 2 days. So I learned real fast in India that they do things very slow. But in the Western world, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with capitalism. Every government system has its benefits and its negatives. But I think we're in such a go, 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 succeed, 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 that we're trying to do things as fast as we can, that we miss the point of the eloquence of life. And I even think about, I'm not a foodie at all, but I even think about like past
Yeah.
generations where we would, and I had to do this as a kid, where I had to set the table and make sure I put the everything correct on the table. And I just sit with my hands in my lap, elbows off the table. My sister and I had our elbows on the table. My mother
Oh,
was,
exactly same. Yeah,
yeah,
no, elbows off the table. Yeah.
thumped on the head. We had
Mm.
to wait until we had to learn how to put our fork and knife when we were finished
Yeah.
eating. And then we had to wait to be excused, and we had to scrape our plates and put them in the dishwasher. And there was such a process to
Mm.
that meal. And I think nowadays we just miss the process. We go to the Grubhub or the Fast, or we miss that point of sitting around a table and enjoying a meal with your family, or writing a love letter
Yeah.
in eloquent handwriting to someone, or a letter to a friend. In but and I'm guilty. Look, I have sweatpants on right now, but I think about, my grandmothers would have never been caught dead in
Oh,
pants.
exactly.
They were
Exactly.
pantyhose and high heels and slips. And
Yeah.
they would have never, if my grandmothers, especially my mom's mom, saw me going to the grocery store the way I'm dressed right now, she would be rolling over in her grave.
Yeah.
And so I think there's an art to living life slowly, to appreciating the process of getting dressed for the day, or preparing that meal, or writing that letter, or gardening. I remember some of my greatest memories with my mom's mom, because we do tea in the South, we do iced tea.
Yeah.
But we have sweet tea. We're famous for our sweet tea. And so, but
Mm.
I remember going out with my mom's mom, everybody's grandma had like a tea garden where you pick the tea leaves. And my grandmother's showing me how to pick the tea leaves to make the batch of sweet tea. Whereas nowadays we just go buy a jug of it at the grocery store. I don't even know if people younger than me know how to even make sweet tea anymore.
Yeah.
And that there's a beauty to life, that I think there's a beauty to the fastness, because we have heating, we have Zoom, but we're missing that. I mean, I think about kids today, Catherine, like when we left school, when we were kids, we were done until the next day.
Oh,
We didn't even
completely. Yeah.
we weren't on social media. I remember taking a junior cotillion, which was an etiquette class in the sixth and seventh grade, so 12, 13 years old, and being told that it was impolite to call somebody's house after 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Now, well, and of course we have do not disturb, and for us, we're in different time zones, and so we know we have the do not disturb on,
Mm.
but now we can just, and I will say there was a great story from, I think, Denmark that just came out, that, and I fair play to Europe, in countries who do this. This corporation, this guy was working for an American corporation in Denmark. He got a new manager from America that came over, and the employee would leave like right at 5 o'clock. And the
Mm.
American manager kept pestering him, like, why are you leaving? Don't you want to work hard? Don't you want
Mm.
to give to the company? And the guy from Denmark was like, you have me until 5 p.m. I have a life outside of that. And it was a great reminder, when work stops, go be with your family,
Yeah.
and that's important. That's important. And
Well,
we're forgetting that.
when Mark and I, my husband and I, were at university, we were at different universities, and then I went off traveling for a year without him. We wrote a letter to each other every single day,
Aw. And
and
your kids will have that one day.
yeah, I mean, the squirrels ate a lot of them in the loft. They made a bed out of them. But it's amazing to look back on it, and I'm sure that's why we're still together, because the relationship was built on a strong foundation, and also there's a different message that you get from writing. How many people of us have read a book and then watched the film and been so disappointed with the film? Sometimes it's the other way around, but very rarely, because all our imaginations are so different. And I think, imagine if everyone here today wrote a letter this weekend to someone, just
Your
wrote a
hands.
letter to someone. I would love everyone to do that and let us know what comes of it, and let us know if you're prepared to do that. Would you do that? And it doesn't matter, it doesn't need to be a love letter, it can be a funny one, it can be an appreciation, but if it actually took the time to write, it would be amazing. So I loved this video. I loved it because I thought these are timeless. He did this motivational speech, I think it was 8 or 9 years ago, so appropriate to today, and so much. I'm sure if everyone listens to the video that he did, you're all going to get very different stuff out of it. But important messages delivered with humor for me really hit.
And I will say too, with the writing thing, I know I've got my journal. I was inspired, kind of with the writing thing. And I don't know if I have the book around me. I read a book a few months back. I think I told you about it somewhere around here about a and I can't remember her name though, but she was like a midwife right at post the
Oh
American
yeah,
Revolution, so late 18th century, early 19th century. And so it was rare for women at that age, at that time, to really know how to, but because she was a midwife, she would keep a journal every day. She would write down the temperature, who had the baby, and she would write down things going on in the town.
yeah,
Historians, there was a book written about her, and historians have used her journal really to kind of piece together like what life was like back in that time. You know, it was a floundering of a new country. They didn't, I mean, we didn't even think about that. Like they didn't think they were going to win the revolution. They did. And they were like, oh shit, what do we do now? We're used to
mm,
having a king. What do we do? Like there, it was floundering. And so she's writing about what's happening, and they're figuring out the court system, these stuff that we don't even think about today. So what I've started doing every day is I have a journal now, and I write down the same thing she did, the temperature, the time, the date, and I write down what's going on politically, how it's affecting us for future generations. But it's really been great for
love
me to take
that.
in for my nephews and nieces. And I even put at the beginning, I wrote them a note and I said, Charlie, Jacqueline, May, and Matthew, or their descendants, whoever gets this, don't you dare hand this over to any government institution that says it's going to preserve it.
Yeah,
You want to make copies of it, but this is for you guys to hold on to because the government will get rid of it. And I
yeah,
write down everything that we see coming in through the media of what's going on in the world. And then I write about my life. And
amazing.
it's really nice just for me. I was doing it for them. I started after reading that book. So I thought, what a great thing to have in your family. Like 100 years, 200 years from now, I would love to have that. But it's been really good for me. I used to
Yeah,
journal all the time as a kid, but just to go through my day and relive my day and write it down. I got for my mom, my stepdad, my sister, my brother-in-law, part of their Christmas. It wasn't their main gift. I found these books. And I found one book here in a store in Atlanta, and then I had to order the other three. And the one I found in Atlanta, it was a hardback book, and it was the story of grandma. And you open it up, and it had all these questions for the grandmother to write about her life when
oh,
she
I've
was
seen
born.
those. That's lovely.
I would love to have that if I had one from my grandparents or
Mm,
my great grandparents, to see who their first love was,
mm.
what it was like having a child, and so I got one from my mom, my stepdad, and my sister and my brother-in-law for their kids to write it out and
I
leave it for.
love that.
But how important that is to this, that's the small things, right?
Yeah,
That's not, I was the CEO of blah, blah, blah and made
yeah,
millions. No, it's like, this was my first love, and this was the year I was born, and this was the rock music I loved. And, this is how I met your grandfather. And,
mm,
those are the things generations want to read about, not how successful you were in corporate America, you know?
completely. Oh,
Yeah.
completely. Well, I've loved that conversation today. For anyone that's stuck with us, let us know what resonates with you the most. Are you going to make any changes after this? And if you watched the actual original video, did you find it as funny as I did?
And I want to end on one joke. You talked about orgasms.
Mm.
The funniest meme I've ever seen is I saw this girl posted, went to the gym today, got on the treadmill. I'm sorry, I need to apologize to the men. You're right. 1 minute is a long time.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, I think yeah, good a good bit of smart helps us all.
Yes,
I
exactly.
have actually, I know I will stop after this, but I've been posting on my Instagram because there's some really old-fashioned British humour that you would never get away with anymore. And, when I look back even 20 years ago, everything was so unpolitically correct, and it was so funny, and it didn't damage any of us. So join us on our Substacks, join us on our Instagrams. The links will be below. And next week we will be back on Esoteric Atlanta. All of Brice's links below. Let us know your thoughts, everyone, and most importantly, laugh and have fun. Thanks, Brice.
Bye, guys.
I just wanted to take a quick break in this episode to tell you about something that has been an absolute game changer in my life and that of my family and all my clients. So what if you could carry a protective high energy field everywhere you go? Turn your home and phone into a high consciousness sanctuary in minutes. Have you ever noticed how some places lift you up and others drain you? A walk in nature, a sacred site, time with animals or high vibe people. You feel clear, calm and alive. And then you step into a noisy, stressed place, phones, Wi-Fi, blue light, fear in the air and your energy tanks. So what if you could take that uplifting field with you? Well, you can, and it's called FLFE, Focused Life Forced Energy. Using advanced, non-invasive tech, FLFE creates a high consciousness field around your home, workplace and phone, or even a personal object. No extra routines, no extra things to do. Once it's on, it runs 24/7 in the background of life and you have complete control of it. People report things like deeper, more restful sleep, calmer emotions and less stress, sharper focus and productivity, and really importantly, support for harmonizing EMFs in your environment. Think of it like carrying the feeling of your favorite nature spot on demand while you commute, parent, work, or rest. And the best part is you can try absolutely free for 15 days, no credit card required. You can experience a shift for yourself. So please do check out the link below, turn it on for your home and your phone, and feel the difference and decide for yourself. We take our energy everywhere and we absorb energy everywhere. So make sure yours is coherent, protective and high vibe with FLFE. Try it free for 15 days, no card, and the link's in the description. Now back to the podcast.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. This helps us spread the word and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. And above all, stay curious and stay free.